Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful psychological trait, one that's forged in hardship. It's something a lot of people have, but almost nobody really talks about. And here's the thing, it's a kind of strength that comes with a hidden cost. Seriously, understanding this might completely change how you think about resilience.
Okay, so here's the quote that really kicks this whole thing off. Some of the strongest people you will ever meet come from the poorest families. And, on the surface, that makes a lot of sense, but the real origin of that strength, it's way more complex and honestly pretty misunderstood. So let's dig in and figure out where it really comes from.
All right, first things first, let's clear up a few myths. This kind of strength we're talking about, it's not from some motivational seminar. It's not about waking up and doing affirmations or looking at inspirational quotes on your phone. Nope. This deep-seated strength isn't built on something as shaky as motivation.
And it definitely doesn't come from having a super comfortable, secure childhood. Actually, you could argue that a life of total ease might even stop this specific kind of resilience from ever showing up. So if it's not motivation and it's not comfort, what's left? What's the real source?
It's pressure. That's the secret ingredient. The constant, relentless pressure that comes from not having enough, from having to face the hard parts of reality way too soon. That's the fire where this unique trait is forged. So let's break down exactly how that works.
All right, so the first piece of this puzzle is what you might call accelerated adulthood. It all kicks off when kids are forced to carry this heavy weight of responsibility, long before they're actually ready for it. I mean, look at this comparison. It shows you two totally different childhoods, right? On one side, you have kids worried about toys and games, learning about life through play. But on the other, you have kids worried about school fees, about real family problems. Their playground becomes a training ground for survival. And this isn't a choice, it's just what they have to do. They learn super early that every decision matters, that mistakes can be costly. And the result? They develop this incredible maturity, way beyond their age.
But that brings up a really important question. Does growing up that fast, being so responsible so early, does that create a peaceful, calm mind? The answer is almost always a hard no. There is a hidden cost, a struggle going on inside.
Yeah, all that responsibility comes with some serious psychological baggage. We're talking about a constant humming anxiety in the background, this intense pressure, this feeling that failure just isn't an option. The stakes always feel sky high, and the idea of making a mistake feels, well, expensive and dangerous.
Okay, let's move on to the second part of this trait because it builds directly on the first. This whole pressure cooker childhood creates this incredible resilience. But, and this is a big but, it's a kind of resilience that has a really dangerous flip side.
So the strength part is pretty amazing. When life gets hard, when things go wrong, these folks don't panic. They don't just crumble. And why is that? It's because comfort was never their default setting. They met struggle first, and hope came later. So for them, hardship isn't some shocking new event. It's familiar.
But what happens when you get a little too comfortable with struggle? What's the psychological downside of being able to put up with almost anything?
And this is where we see the paradox in action. That same strength that lets them handle rejection, well, it can also make them tolerate a toxic workplace. The skill of surviving tough situations can turn into just quietly accepting unfair treatment or emotional neglect. It's all because of that little voice inside that says, hey, it could be worse. At least it's not like it used to be. And that's when resilience stops being a strength and just becomes endurance.
Okay, this brings us to the third piece of the trait, and this one is huge. A lot of people get this wrong. The motivation here isn't just about wanting to be successful, it's about a deep, constant fear of falling back. A fear of ending up right back where they started.
And let me tell you, that fear is a powerful motivator. It's the fuel that pushes them to work harder than anyone else, to save every penny, and to be super careful about taking risks. It's like having an engine inside you that's always running. But the problem is, it never ever shuts off. It's that voice in their head, the one that's always whispering, what if everything collapses? What if I lose it all and go back to the beginning? It plays on a loop, even when things are going great. That's why there's this constant restlessness, this feeling like you can't ever really relax because your brain is always on high alert, scanning for the next disaster.
And there's actually a term for this in psychology. It's called the scarcity mindset. It's basically a way of thinking that gets hardwired into your brain when you grow up without knowing if you'll have what you need. It's this mindset that makes someone so disciplined and hardworking, but also always feeling unsettled, like the other shoe is about to drop.
All right, let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle. And it might be the most complex one. It's this weird combination of two things that seem like opposites: really deep empathy and, at the same time, this really strong guarded caution. So on the one hand, they are incredibly empathetic. Because they've been through it, they just get it. They understand what pain and sacrifice feel like. They value the small things, the little opportunities that other people might not even notice. They respect the effort someone puts in, not just the fancy result at the end.
But wait a minute, that sounds like a contradiction, right? If they're so empathetic, why are they also so emotionally guarded? Why do they keep their own feelings under lock and key? Well, it actually makes perfect sense once you look at where they came from.
The reason is pretty simple, really. They learned a tough lesson early on. Things can fall apart. People don't always keep their promises. Disappointment is a real thing. So what do? You learn to protect yourself. You can still care deeply about other people, but you don't give away your trust easily. It's a survival mechanism, plain and simple.
Okay, so let's wrap this up and put all the pieces together. What is this special trait we've been talking about this whole time? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a really powerful and complex mix. So this special trait is really a combination of four things, all born from pressure. You've got that hyper-responsibility from childhood, that extreme resilience, that constant fear of instability, and finally, that guarded empathy.
And at the end of the day, the strength itself is undeniable. It's real, it's powerful, and it allows people to do amazing things. But it's a strength that comes with invisible scars. It leaves behind these internal battles that the rest of the world just doesn't see.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Now that you know that some of the greatest strength often comes with the heaviest price, how does that change the way you look at strength? Not just in other people, but maybe, just maybe, in yourself.